Our literature, this is the beginning of the three holiest days. Today is the Triduum Sanctum. Tomorrow is the celebration of Good Friday, and then Holy Saturday, and then the Feast of the Resurrection on Sunday. I also wish to express my apologies for a little bit of drama there behind the altar a while ago, which of course is owing to the fact that it is virtually impossible for me to stand for any length of time, and therefore some time ago we have devised a seating arrangement with a kind of a glorified corporate milking stool on which I sit. And it's not always a very secure repository, and so today it wasn't very secure and took quite a bit of a dramatic movement in order to continue my place there. So please excuse us, but it is a great blessing for me to be able to use that method, because this way I'm able to say the Eucharist again myself. Speaking of that, the Maundy Thursday, as I think I dropped a hint before, the name is derived from mandate, and I think especially since our medico-fascist encounters with the healing profession during the epidemic. That was one of the words that was used most often. Was it's mandated, instead of just saying, okay guys, why don't you just go ahead and do it? But that would be too unprofessional, I'm sure. So, so a mandate is mandatum is a old Roman term, was used in the Roman Empire to issue mandates, to issue commands that come from on high, maybe from Caesar himself, and that were obligatory, or at least very highly recommended. So this is the Thursday when the mandates, actually two of them, are manifest, and that's a good idea to keep in mind. And we have participated in both of them. The first mandate is the washing of feet, because as you have heard in the Gospel of John, the Lord commands his disciples to wash each other's feet. It's a direct command. So there is the mandate for that. And then, of course, later on, which it would take too long to have the biblical narrative all there, but the second great event, of course, is the Last Supper, and it's in the course of the Last Supper that the mandate is given to celebrate the Eucharist, to consecrate the bread and the wine. And so there are two mandates. One mandate, obviously, of purification, of cleansing, and the other of the partaking and actually incorporating of the mystery in the form of the bread and the wine. And these are, of course, both quite important, although owing to the fact that the Holy Eucharist is administered at every Mass, we are more familiar with that than the foot washing. So let's try to cogitate a little bit about what the foot washing might wear. It sounds kind of strange at first, But if we look at the Gospel of John and put it sort of into a complete context, then we recognize that apparently there was some important act of cleansing. What do we walk with on the earth? Our feet. What is the, even in Kabbalah, what is the sephira that stands on the ground? Malkuth. So the foundation, the lowest manifestation of the human life is where we touch the earth and where we get dirty. And I think all of us have been little children, and we probably enjoyed, in various degrees, getting dirty. I know I was. For which reason, when I came back to the house from the garden, I definitely had to not really wash my feet, but cleanse all of my legs. So we need to keep in mind that these are, in all likelihood, very important symbolic acts. And one of the issues is that we all come into this world and remain here to a greater or lesser degree earthbound, which means that our feet are combined with the dirt, with the earth. And so in order for us to be free, to move on the path of the Gnosis, and to enter the greater mystery of the Logos, our earthbound condition, the dirtiness of our locomoting organ, the foot, needs to be done away with. So there is a cleansing that is necessary, and that's the first mandate. As you should wash each other's feet, meaning you should help each other to be clean of the depredations of earthly life, to be clean of the dirt. And I think that you know rather well that that's not an easy project, and that, of course, we do both physically and mentally and spiritually become contaminated with earthly things. That doesn't mean that the earth is evil. It doesn't mean that earthly things are necessarily terrible. But, you know, if it comes right down to it, even with all of these epidemics and so forth, where do the pathogenic agents, as the medical profession calls them, come from? They come from the dirt in the world. And maybe some of them fly up onto the bushes or onto the trees, but that's where they come from. So the more down we go, onto the ground level, the more likely it is that we are solid thereby. And this, of course, we don't have to go into the details of all the other ways in which that happens, mentally, emotionally, or elsewhere, because even though that is not frequently admitted, let's say we live in an environment that, while it has a lot of benefits, is also quite a contaminant and quite a nasty thing. I mean, you know, it's consider all the venomous insects and venomous creatures that crawl around in the world and all that. And ever since I was a little boy, I always had an interest in bugs. maybe they would have called me Bugsy if I had been here. And so we pick up agencies from Mother Earth that are anything but beneficial to us. And while undoubtedly we also get all kinds of benefits, we have things that grow here that are good for us, that we can eat, not all the vegetables, but other things, and so forth, and that balances it out. But the Logos wants to impress on his disciples that they need to be clean of the contaminations of earthly life. And once again, that is not just a put down on earthly life, but that means that if we assume into ourselves and onto ourselves too many of the characteristics of earthly life, we may not fare so well, and that the bad conditions, both health-wise and ethically and morally, are the result of things that we pick up while we are here walking on this earth. And so that's why when Jesus is getting ready for something very important, something so important that he feels that it is symbolically and physically very important to approach it in cleanliness. And you have just participated in it, because then comes the Last Supper, and the Last Supper is the institution of the Eucharist. And that is where he brings out the bread, brings out the wine, and tells his disciples not only that this is something that they should, something great that they should partake of now, but that this is something very, very important, something very, very sacred that he has brought into the world, and that he wants them and their successors to administer and to take off. Not take off, and take to themselves as frequently as possible. And that is, of course, the Eucharist. Now we have what we have here is a mystery, and probably the best way to get an idea of what the Eucharistic sacrifice is when we know a little bit about the mysteries. So, for instance, my countrymen and somebody who was a friend of my family, Professor Carl Kerényi, one of the greatest mythologists of modern times, he wrote some wonderful descriptions of the Eleusinian mysteries. And of course, with all of that, he became a very close friend of Carl Jung, because within the last days that he and his wife Magda were in Hungary, they came to our house, and they were there for dinner, and then they said goodbye, maybe a little more effusively than usual, and then we haven't seen him for a long time. So I asked my father, well, where is Uncle Carl? Anybody who's older than you is an uncle. And so my father said, well, Uncle Carl is traveling to Switzerland. And I said, well, are we going to see him again? Well, that just depends, my father said. If he makes his way back, then we'll see him. If not, we might have to go to Switzerland to see him. Oh, yeah, So then I found out later on that he became the advisor on the classics and on the mysteries of C.G. Jung, and, a great friend. So why I brought that up? Well, because of the mystery. Because as certainly Kerényi explains, and others, every ancient religion, probably starting with the Egyptians, who were really a very long-lived culture. God knows how many thousand years they were there. But probably beginning with the ancient Egyptians, there were always some mysteries, which were not the generally communicated teachings. They were not in the nature of teachings, not in the nature of commandments, not in the nature of anything of that sort, but they were instrumentalities of great spiritual power. And so it is quite understandable that when Jesus Christ our Lord came to earth, that he would also institute a mystery. And so just prior to his passion and resurrection and ascension, before that whole drama, he institutes a mystery. And if we look at the words of the institution, this is my. It's not just this is my body and this is my blood. Yes, this is my body, but for the wine, he has quite a much longer legend, and I only know it in Latin because I'm too lazy to translate it. But hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, novi et aeterni testamenti, mysterium fidei, qui pro vobis et pro multis effundetur in remissionem peccatorum. God bless the Cistercian fathers that they taught me so much Latin. But it says, this then is the chalice of my blood, of the new and the eternal testament, which for you and for many is shed for the remission of evil, for the remission of faults. In other words, this is what will cleanse you, and that is still, to the extent that the Tridentine Mass is being said, that is still the formula for the consecration of the wine, while the other one is just hic est enim corpus meum. And you probably have come across in your readings of the somewhat derogatory term hocus pocus. The hocus pocus is a mockery on hoc est corpus, that this is the body. It's, there were always some people making fun of holy things in olden days as now, but it's so that we have the longer formula for the wine. We have now, as to what the mystery consists of, except that it is some very sacred, some very highly charged substance that we are allowed to take actually into our bodies, and that is destined to sanctify and to guide us subsequently, to place something that is really spiritual into this physical vehicle, which is in itself a kind of an interesting idea. And so this is what we need to keep in mind. Incidentally, in my various readings of old Egyptian stuff, especially Gerald Massey's book, Ancient Egypt, The Light of the World, which is a very interesting late 19th century interpretation of ancient Egypt. He indicates there that there was a sacramental rite dedicated to Horus, and Horus is God the Son of the Isis and Osiris' son. And so here the the statement made by him was that the mystery consisted of a thin loaf or wafer of bread, made in Egypt naturally made of rice flour, and that the hieroglyphic name for it was the karst, which comes pretty close to the Christ. So once again, I don't mean to say that Christ or the Christians plagiarized from the Egyptians, but that mysteries of that sort, of the body of the divinity, being taken into the body and sanctifying it and sanctifying the mind, has been around for a very, very long time and has always considered to be very helpful. And so here, with all changes and all the balderdash that went on in church history, this is something that they kept and that they never let go of. And it's here to this day. They may change the language, they may say, oh well, this is a Novus Ordo and not a Tridatinum Sensi, but it is there. And of course it depends on the rightly ordained and rightly prepared priesthood to make that transformation and transform it. And it has various important relationships to alchemy and to others, because after all, what we are dealing with is a transformation. It is a transformation rite for the benefit of those who can partake of it. And so here are the two important things: the cleansing of the feet and the transformation of the bread and the wine into the mystical substance of the Christ and the benefit that they bestow on us. Now, it's not my purpose to go into all kinds of details, but let's say, from obviously, like a good Catholic boy, I have partaken of the Blessed Sacrament from early in life. I think I was about 7 years old that we used to get First Communion and so forth. And as time went on, many years later, I became a priest, and I was always impressed by the fact that the mystery was there and that we were administering the mystery and partaking of the mystery. And I have myself witnessed, what could you call it, phenomena in church that are very unusual, and that I would say some of them are so unusual that they would be regarded a bona fide miracle even in the Vatican. So I have the conviction arising out of personal experience that the sacred substances are indeed that they are mysteries, that they are miracles in themselves, and they should be revered and regarded as such. And that partaking of them nourishes our spirits, nourishes our souls, and gives us the spiritual food, the spiritual nourishment that in a culture such as ours we rather lack, and with which to partake can definitely go to our benefit. So this then it's important for us to remember. Now Maundy Thursday is the day of the mandate, when we are told by the Logos, now you do this, you cleanse yourselves of the dirt of the earth, and then you partake of the transfigured, the transformed, my sanctified body and blood in the bread and the wine, and this will be my legacy to you. And this is what still in the sacramental churches, Eastern Orthodox, Roman Catholic, this is how, and he says at the end of the Last Supper, he says, do this in remembrance of me. You see? Qui quetiens cumque fecietis in meam memoriam fecietis. Remember me with this. And the very word remember has a partly Egyptian origin, because it is Osiris who is dismembered. And then with the aid of his son Horus and with the God of wisdom Thoth, he is remembered. He's put back together. And even if we just look at that way, there is something here, in this room, in these bodies inside of us, there is something here that is about to become complete, about to become whole. And if we use the mystery that is designed for that end, then our wholeness, our individuation, as Jung would call it, is thereby greatly facilitated. So let's try to take the mandate at heart. We have been told to do these things. We have been told that this will be very much to our advantage, and that if we do so, we will come closer and closer to the heart of the Gnosis. I am certain that such Gnostic experiences of some profundity as I may have had in my life were greatly, greatly facilitated by partaking of the sacrament wherever I was and wherever I could. And once again, you don't have to make a big magic out of it. But say, I have been told this by somebody very important, that this will be good for me. I thank for it, and here it is. You see, and I assure you, on the basis of a long lifetime of experience, that it is a great, a magnificent help, and that I dearly hope that I go with the taste of the consecrated wafer and the taste of the wine when I go to the other side. Because this is the bread of the angels, this is the lifeblood of all creation, it was called. This is what keeps our true nature alive. And people are so involved in their health and what they eat and the plastic greens, which I have disliked intensely ever since I was a child. I didn't like to eat anything green, and I still don't. So there you go. But a matter of spiritual nourishment, a matter of an aid to transformation has been given to us. And in spite of all the ups and downs of history, it has endured, and it is used by millions of people to their benefit and to their families, all the way from the ends of the earth, and it has worked for them. And it still is, and so it will for us, because this is the mighty aid to our transformation. The bread of the angels, the lifeblood of all creation. And so may the mystery of that which hangs between heaven and earth descend upon us and remain with us always. Amen.